I don't remember when their voices became louder than my own. Maybe it was that day in the kitchen when my mother sighed after hearing about my second job change. That quiet, disappointed sound that said, "You should have done better by now." Or maybe it was my older brother's smirk at the dinner table. "Still trying to find yourself, huh?" Everyone laughed. I did too. I always laughed. Because what else could I do? Every family gathering was a stage, and I was the unspoken cautionary tale. The one who had potential, the one who used to be smart, the one who almost made it. They didn't mean to be cruel. At least that's what I told myself. They just didn't know what their words did to me, how they lingered like smoke after a fire. For years, I carried that invisible weight. I worked harder, smiled wider, and pretended their approval didn't matter, even as I chased it with every choice I made. Until one evening, after another long, heavy dinner filled with stories of everyone else's success, something shifted. It was my niece's birthday. Laughter echoed through the living room, and I stood in the corner balancing a paper plate of cake that I wasn't even hungry for. My father called across the room, "Still doing that little job of yours." The words "little job" hit harder than he could have known. I smiled, but inside something cracked open. That's when I realized I'd been waiting my whole life for an apology that was never coming. I went home that night and sat in the dark. No music, no lights, just me and the quiet hum of the fridge. For once, I didn't try to fix it. I didn't try to rewrite the story in my head or defend myself in imaginary conversations. I just sat there and asked myself one question. Why do I still need them to see me? The truth hurt. Because even as an adult, I was still that child waiting to be told I was enough. A week later, we had another gathering. My mother's birthday this time. I almost didn't go. But something inside me whispered, "Go, but go differently this time." So I did. I wore the same calmness I had found in that dark kitchen, not as armor, but as truth. Dinner passed quietly until my brother said, half jokingly, "Hey, when are you going to get a real job?" The old me would have laughed it off, but not this time. I put my fork down gently and looked at him, not with anger, but with clarity. "I already have a real job," I said softly, "and I'm good at it. You don't have to understand it for it to be real." The table fell silent. My mother froze mid-bite. My father looked away. And for the first time in years, I didn't feel small. I felt steady. My voice didn't tremble when I continued. "I know I haven't lived the life any of you imagined for me, but I've spent years trying to become someone you'd be proud of, and I lost myself in the process. I'm done doing that." My mother's eyes softened. "We never meant—" "I know," I interrupted gently. "You didn't mean to hurt me, but you did. And I forgive you, because holding on has only kept me from healing." No one spoke for a long moment. The air felt heavy, but not suffocating. Like rain just before it falls. Then my mother reached for my hand. "I'm sorry," she whispered. And for the first time, I believed she meant it. After that night, nothing magically changed. My family still joked sometimes, still misunderstood parts of my life, but I had changed. I no longer flinched at their words or twisted myself to fit their comfort. Their opinions stopped being my mirror. I started choosing peace over performance. I began to visit when I wanted to, not when I felt guilty. I celebrated small wins quietly for myself. I stopped needing them to clap for me, because I finally learned to clap for myself. One Sunday, months later, my father called. His voice was softer than usual. "I saw your photo in that article," he said awkwardly. "Look proud of you." It wasn't much, but it was something. And instead of craving more, I simply smiled. Thanks, Dad. When we hung up, I felt a gentle warmth spread through me, the kind that comes when you realize you don't need to be seen by others to see yourself clearly. Sometimes healing isn't loud. It's not the dramatic confrontation or the perfect apology. Sometimes it's just the quiet acceptance that you deserved better and the strength to stop waiting for others to give it to you. I used to think confronting my family meant proving I wasn't a failure, but now I know it meant forgiving them and forgiving myself for ever believing I was. Because closure isn't about changing the past, it's about walking out of it, whole, steady, and finally free.